And welcome back to another Taekook FF. This is best friend to lover FF. I hope you will love it. Get your bump up. It's already 1 p.m. Jimin shouted from the kitchen. He was making something to eat for the sleephead. 10 more minutes, please. Taehyung, we need no more 10 minutes. You are saying 10 minutes, 10 minutes for the last 30 minutes. For God's sake, wake the freak up. Jimmy retorted. Sounds like angry now. It's their third day of vacation after their final semester of second year, so they planned a little camping and their friends, which included Jimmy and his boyfriend Yoongi, Taehyung, and the single bump and Jungkook, Taehyung's best friend. These three, Jungkook, Taehyung, and Jimin, were friends from their high school days. Jimin and Yoongi got together last year. They met each other accidentally in a party night, and as they got attracted to each other, Yoongi asked him out, and then they all started. They dated for what seems like 3 months, and then they got together as boyfriend. But luck wasn't that good for him. He went to the camp last year without any date, and it seems like this year also wouldn't be any different. He never dated anyone, so he has no experience, but he eagerly wanted to ask Jungkook out. Yes, Jungkook was his best friend, and he fell hard head over heels for the person, and he couldn't help it. But he never confessed because he was scared to lose his best friend as well. What if he doesn't like me that way? What I would do if he is straight? He never talk about his love preference. What if he only thinks of me as a friend? What if after I confess he left me? There was so many what ifs in his mind, so he never wanted to risk his friendship. He watched Jungkook dated a few girls but never boys, and whenever he saw Jungkook being close with someone, he just couldn't take it and left that place right after, so that he didn't have to witness any more intimacy that would hurt him. As for now, it's their outing day. They decided to visit the nearest mountain, which was not too high, there where they would be able to make their tent for one day and some bonfire at the cliff, which was the ideal place for sunrise and sunset. Then went to the village and down the hill. After 10 minutes, Taehyung woke up. He went straight to the bathroom to redeem himself. Jimin was already ready to leave. After 20 minutes, Taehyung was ready. He went to his kitchen only to see Jimin already prepared him some food. Last night they were playing games, so they didn't sleep. When they finished their game hunt, it's already 6 in the morning. Then they drifted off to sleep, and until now Taehyung was sleeping until Jimin stayed with his boyfriend. But yesterday was an exception. Yoongi and Jungkook will be here in 10 minutes. Hurry up and eat it, Jimin said to Taehyung, and he pointed to the plate on the kitchen desk, and Taehyung did as he was told. After that, they both left the house and their luggage, which was small for 1 week trip. When they both were outside of the house, Jungkook and Yoongi was already there. They put their small luggage in the car and hopped in on the car, and Jungkook hit the gas pedal to drive them to their destination. After what seems like a good 3 hours driving, they actually reached the place where they would be setting their tents. It's already 5 p.m. They brought 2 tents and settled it down on the ground and brought some wood from near dry trees for the campfire. It was almost time for sunset, so they sat down to watch the sunset. After a while, Jimin and Yoongi went to take pure photos. Left Jimin, Jungkook and Taehyung there. They both said there. It's beautiful, isn't it? Jungkook asked. Is it? It is. As Taehyung turned to look at Jungkook only to find the latter was already looking at him with star's eyes. They were stared at each other's eyes, especially when they said eyes were the reflection of our mind. It's really true. They both could see each other's eyes were sparkling with some kind of emotions which yet to be found. They weren't sitting too close, so thanked to God that Jungkook wouldn't be able to hear his heartbeat, which was beating like a wild horse. He didn't know what Jungkook felt, but the way Jungkook was staring at him, he could guess some. After the sunset, they all settled on the ground in front of their tent in a circle. At first, one tent was for Jimin and Taehyung, and the other was for Yoongi and Jungkook. But now the couple wanted to sleep together, so they had to agree with Yoongi and Jimin. Although Taehyung had an argument with Jimin, besides Jimin knew that what he felt for Jungkook, but at the end he had to agree because again Jungkook was telling him that Yoongi and Jimin were a couple and they would want to spend some quality time together. But Taehyung was scared. Don't get him wrong, the last time he spent a night with Jungkook was before their exams. They were revising together and Jungkook was the first one to fall asleep and Taehyung almost kissed the sleeping figure because, oh boy, the sleeping Jungkook was more godly handsome, but somehow he stopped himself. That's why he was scared, but not also but also happy that he would be able to spend the night only with Jungkook, not the exact way he wants, like cuddling and with soft kisses, but still it's more than enough for him. After 1 hour, they found their ingredients to cook and they started to prepare it. They decided that the first day, Taehyung and Jimin would be cooking as they planned to stay there for 1 day. Next day, they would be going down the hills to the small village and stay there for the rest of their tour. They also got helper hand from Jungkook and Yoongi. After they finished their cooking and dinner, it's already 10 pm, so they called it a day and went to their respective tents to sleep. Jungkook was sleeping peacefully, but suddenly some movements disturbed his slumber and woke him up. Jungkook turned to his left side only to see Taehyung was literally covered with sweat. His eyebrows frowned, shaking his head side to side by all this analysis. Jungkook knew Taehyung was dreaming, maybe a nightmare, and he see Taehyung in this stage. He started panicking, but it's not time to panic. It's time to make sure that Taehyung was okay and to tell him that it was a dream. Nothing else. Taehyung, wake up. Please wake up. It's okay. It's just a dream. He tried to calm him down and he started to joking Taehyung to wake him up. After a few minutes, Taehyung woke up. Then he sat up, fainting heavily. As Jungkook also sat up, and then Jungkook noticed Taehyung was crying. He hated it when the most to see his precious Taehyung cry. Hey, are you okay? Just look at me and breathe, okay? He asked, and as an answer, Taehyung just nodded while raising his head to look at him, trying to regulate his breath. Come on, come here, Jungkook said as he held Taehyung in his arm in a comfortable embrace. Trying to soothe the little mind, Jungkook started to caress Taehyung's back with his thumb softly. Shh, it's okay, don't cry. It's only a dream. It's not real at all. Jungkook softly sat against his neck, and that caused Taehyung to cry harder. Please, don't leave me, please, Taehyung begged between his sobbing, and the man's warm embrace was so comforting that he didn't want to break it. He wanted to stay like that forever. I'm not going anywhere, okay? I'm right here with you, hugging you. I'm not going anywhere. Calm down, Tete, Jungkook said after a while. When he felt Taehyung calm down, he pulled from hug and made Taehyung to face him. His eyes were red, puffy from all crying. Jungkook used his thumb and wiped out the remaining tears and caressed his cheeks softly, and then closed his eyes as he leaned in his touch. Jungkook cupped his face and gave him a kiss on his forehead before taking him in his embrace again and lie down. Just sleep, okay? I'm here, Jungkook said, and Taehyung just nodded as he hugged Jungkook back and nuzzled his head to Jungkook's chest and drifted off to sleep. In that warm embrace, he felt safe, protected, comfortable. Whatever he saw in dream would never be able to reach out to him, like Jungkook couldn't let that happen. Next morning, when he woke up, he found himself in the same warm embrace. He looked up and watched a sleeping figure running his thumb from Jungkook's eyebrow to his nose to his cheeks, and lastly to touch his bottom lips lightly. As he was about to get up, he felt Jungkook tighten his hold and pulled him closer, and Taehyung's breath inches. His lips were inches apart from the latter's lips. He could feel each other's breath on his lips. He could feel his heartbeat thundering against his chest. He just stared at the sleeping figure, and before he knew, Jungkook snapped open his eyes, adjusting the light, and looked directly into Taehyung's eyes. Taehyung blinked rapidly, and he felt his face started to burn up. Jungkook stared at Taehyung. He wasn't stupid to not notice the deep pinkish blush on Taehyung's cheeks and neck. He glanced and said, "Good morning," not making the situation any more awkward. "Get yourself together, Taehyung," he screamed inside his mind. "Morning," was the only thing he could manage to say. "How was your sleep, huh?" Jungkook asked, again sound a little concerned. It was good. Thanks for confronting me," Taehyung retorted with a smile. "That's great," Jungkook said and returned the smile after, and the four of them get up and freshen up. They were sitting in a nearby tea shop while deciding what to do for the rest of the day. Let's go to the little downtown there, Jungkook pointed down the mountain. What do you all say? He asked. That's good idea, Jimin suggested. So they all decided that they took their car and drove to that small town. It wasn't that far. It only took 30 minutes to reach there. As the town was small, they couldn't find any hotels to stay, but instead they found a cottage. They rented 2 rooms as usual for them in that cottage. They put their luggage on their rooms and went to explore the small town. As the town was far from the big city, so it wasn't too crowded, so the cottage was also peaceful. The 4 of them sat at the side balcony of the cottage, enjoying the fresh atmosphere for a while. And in a blink of eyes, it's already lunchtime, so they returned to their cottage, took shower, then ordered their lunch, and after lunch they all went to sleep as they were tired. A knock interrupted Taehyung from continuing his sleep. He was about to get up from his he felt a weight on his body. He looked down with his sleepy eyes and found it's Jungkook's hand. Jungkook was hugging him from behind while they were sleeping. Even if it's a normal thing for Jungkook, but it gave Taehyung hope that maybe he could be more than a friend. He smiled and took Jungkook's hand off from his waist and put it aside his pillow and went to open the door. Hello, how was your sleep with your boy? Jimin teased. It was Jimin at the door. Shut up. What are you doing here? Taehyung asked angrily because he hates it when someone interrupts his sleep. It's already 7 p.m. How much longer do you still want to sleep? Until tomorrow morning? If we were here to only sleep, we could have stayed at home. Why came here, huh? Jimin snapped. Okay, what do you want? Taehyung asked, rubbing his eyes. And there is a small pub. I want to go there. So wake up your boy up and get ready to go there. Oh, and meet us in 30 minutes at the lobby, Jimin said, and walked towards the room. Taehyung sighed and walked to wake up Jungkook. After 30 minutes, they both went, Yoongi and Jimin, in the lobby and went to the pub. It's already 1 hour since they were in the pub. Yoongi and Jimin were dancing like crazy and having fun. On the other side, Taehyung were almost on the edge of combust and anger. For an hour there were so many girls trying to flirt with Jungkook, literally in front of him, and Jungkook also flirted back with some of them, which made Taehyung's anger grow more and more. He also felt sad that he couldn't do that with Jungkook. It's like an invisible wall keep him away from his love. He was busy in his thoughts when he felt someone was touching his arm. He looked up and see a pretty girl standing in front of him wearing a red dress, and there is a drink glass in her hand. Are you alone here? The girl asked Taehyung. Are you alone here? The girl asked Taehyung. No, I'm here with my friends. Is there anything you need? Taehyung asked. She leaned forward and whispered in his ear. How about I tell you I need you? Taehyung was stunned by her answer. Jungkook was watching them over the counter. He was watching how the girl was touching and tracking Taehyung's arm and his chest. He knew Taehyung doesn't like to be touched like this. He could see the hesitation on Taehyung's face. Having had enough, he decided to interfere in. Hey, baby, why are you sitting here alone? I told you to come fast, didn't I? Jungkook approached Taehyung. If Taehyung was stunned by the girl's straightforwardness, then now he is beyond shocked. Do you know him? The girl asked Taehyung once again. On the other side, Taehyung was still processing what with the way Jungkook just called him. He liked it. No, he loved it. He didn't notice the girl and talk to him. He is only staring at Jungkook with his now almost almond-shaped, surprised eyes, whose eyes were also on him anyways as well. Of course, Jungkook said before turning his head towards the girl. I'm his boyfriend and you are? Jungkook asked as he raised his eyebrow, and if Taehyung was beyond shocked by Jungkook's endearment, now he's lost. He didn't know if he's dreaming on it and or it's actually happening. He always dreamed about how they would be when he and Jungkook would be a couple, how they spend their time together, how would be their dates and all. But now Jungkook was telling that random girl that they were boyfriends was beyond his imagination. It felt great, it felt right. You are what? The girl exclaimed in disbelief. Didn't you hear what I just said? Now, if you will excuse us, it will be great. Jungkook said as he held Taehyung's wrist and dragged him to the restroom. Taehyung's poor heart was beating against his chest like thunder, and the way Jungkook was dragging him out of possessiveness was giving him hopes that he might shouldn't have, or should he? Jungkook dragged him all the way into the restroom and slammed the door behind him. As he pinned Taehyung onto the door, Taehyung was breathing heavily. He was shocked with the latest sudden change of expression. It seems he is angry, but at whom? At him or at girl? They didn't know. He didn't know what to do or what to say to the other. He was just staring at Jungkook, trying to find what's going on in the other's mind. And to his surprise, Jungkook spoke. What are you doing? What were you doing with that girl? He asked, voice authoritative, eyebrows frowned. I wasn't doing anything. She was the one who came to me, Taehyung retorted. He didn't want Jungkook to misunderstand him for a random girl. So, why didn't you leave? Why did you allow that girl to touch you like that, huh? And why she was flirting? Jungkook exclaimed in anger. Yes, he was angry because that random girl touched his Taehyung like that. Yes, his Taehyung. He has feeling for Taehyung when they weren't friends. That's why he approached the latter in hope that they could be more. But Taehyung gave him friend zone, so Jungkook didn't push it. He didn't want to lose Taehyung. He would have him as a friend rather than not at all. So he never said anything. Why? What's wrong with me flirting with someone? Huh? Or you think only you could flirt with girls? Taehyung asked angrily. He just saw that Jungkook was also flirting back with those girls, so he doesn't understand why Jungkook was behaving like this. If Jungkook could flirt, then so could he. What's the big deal then? You wanna know, huh? Jungkook asked as he pinned Taehyung both hands over his head with his left hand and then slid his right hand on Jungkook's waist under his t-shirt, feeling the soft skin under his palm. What are you doing, Jungkook? Taehyung asked, breathing heavily. Jungkook didn't answer. He just pulled him closer by his waist. Their lips inches apart, both were breathing heavily at the sudden change of mood. Jungkook was staring at the latter's lips, pulpy lips, like it was his favorite candy, and Taehyung was blinking rapidly. Jungkook closed his gap, and at a sudden move, he crushed his lips onto Taehyung's soft one. Jungkook was drunk, but not as much that he couldn't remember anything that's happening. He didn't want to think about tomorrow. He wanted to treasure this moment. Time he wanted time to stop. The moment his and Taehyung's lips touched, and electric spread through his spine. But he wanted more than a sweet kiss. His hand was losingly on Taehyung's pinned hand, but what made him surprised was Taehyung's sudden action. Taehyung pulled his hand from his grip. Jungkook thought Taehyung would push him away and throw a punch and leave. But to his surprise, Taehyung shaked his both hands in his neck and started to kiss him back. By deep in the kiss, Jungkook was taken aback for a few seconds, but next thing he knew, he started to devour Taehyung's lips. With this sensation was new for both of them. These feelings were new. Their hearts were humming and in their chest. They were happy, content. Taehyung would always think how he would feel to kiss Jungkook. He even had a dream about it, nothing more than a kiss though. He would dream about them being on a date, and after their dinner, Jungkook would kiss him under the star sky. So romantic, but the feeling he was feeling now, no dream could ever describe it. The feeling of his best friend on whom he had a crush was kissing him, detouring his lips, the warm touch of Jungkook's lips. He was too much onto it. Jungkook was already tasting every part of his mouth, hands roaming over his back. After a few minutes of their passionate kiss, they pulled apart to take much needed air. They just stared at each other for half-lit eyes. Jungkook thought nothing would think that it's a mistake. It just happened in the heat of their anger. They just went with the flow, but it was not a mistake for him, not at all. Did he not like it? He isn't angry, right? But what if Taehyung hates me now? OMG, why did I do that? All the thoughts were floating in Jungkook's brain until he met Taehyung's eyes. There he saw the softness in Taehyung's face, and especially eyes gave him another surprise. Taehyung's eyes were literally sparkling. He pulled himself together and asked in a harsh voice, "You are not angry at me, right?" "Why would I be angry at you?" Taehyung asked back in confusion and frowned. Because I kissed you," Jungkook asked nervously. Then he saw Taehyung's face turn into a tomato for blushing hard at the mention of kiss. Taehyung looked down and shook his head as no. Jungkook slapped himself in his mind for thinking all the negative thoughts. Now he is relaxed. Now that Jungkook knows that his Taehyung didn't hate him for kissing him, he is happy. He is over the moon. He knew he should say it while he is sober, but now he couldn't hold it in. Now, not after getting the green light from Taehyung after their kiss. He held Taehyung in his arm securely. Taehyung's palm was resting on his chest. He was still not looking at his eyes as he was embarrassed, but Jungkook just couldn't hold it in anymore, so he called Taehyung. Please don't hate me after what I'm about to say, okay?" At this sudden change of voice, Taehyung looked up and looked straight in Jungkook's eyes. Why would he hate him? He didn't know what Jungkook was about to say, but he could say it's a serious thing. What if Jungkook thinks that the kiss was a mistake? What if he doesn't want to see me anymore? There was so many what ifs floating in his mind, and unconsciously his eyes blurred with tears. But his thoughts were cut by Jungkook's soft voice. Hey, why are you crying? As he caressed Taehyung's soft cheeks with his thumb and wiped his tears that was falling. Taehyung just shook his head and looked down again, but Jungkook curved his face and made him look at him. I just wanted to say something. It's not something you should cry about. Please don't cry. Jungkook begged as he caressed Taehyung's soft cheeks with a soft smile on his lips. But Taehyung again looked down. Jungkook closed his eyes, swallowed the lump in his throat and took a deep breath, then opened his eyes and said, I just wanted to say that I like you. Not just as a friend, but more than a friend. With that being said, Taehyung looked up into his eyes with a shocked expression. Looking at Taehyung's expression, Jungkook almost cried. Because he knows he is about to lose his best friend. He thought his feelings were only from his side, but again Taehyung's sudden soft expression made him calm again, made his hopes high, made his heart flutter. That maybe Taehyung's feelings were as same as him. He was brought back to reality by Taehyung's voice. What did you just say? I said I like you, not scratch that. I love you, not as a friend, but not as a best friend. I want you to be more than a friend. I always have these feelings for you from then when we weren't even friends. Jungkook confessed, but what about all of your ex? Taehyung thought, I have been suppressing all those feelings because I couldn't lose you because of my stupid feelings, but earlier when I saw you with that girl, I just can't help it. That feeling to see you with someone else was too much to take. I just couldn't let that happen without trying. Jungkook once again cupped Taehyung's face between his hands. Taehyung's eyes were filled with unleashed tears. I want you to be mine, Taehyung, only mine, and I want to be yours. I want us to belong to each other. Please, Taehyung, give me a chance to prove my love to you. Jungkook pleaded. You said you have feelings for me ever before we were friends. Then what about your ex? Taehyung asked confusedly. I went to all of those relationships because I wanted to forget all those feelings I have for you. I knew it's not possible between us, that you never saw me as more than your friend. That's why I agreed to those relationships. But I just couldn't do it. I just can't. Jungkook answered and shook his head with his. That being said, Taehyung unleashed tears rolled down his cheeks. He hugged Jungkook and sobbed in his chest. It was too much that their feelings were the same from the start, and Jungkook loved him even more. Even before that, they both were a pair of idiots, but how could you blame them? They both were insecure that they could lose the only person they treasure the most in their life. After their relief encounter, they both went to their seats. As soon as they sat, Yogi came to the couch with a pasta Jimin in his arm. I think we should head back to the cottage, Yogi suggested. Yes, I'm tired too. Taehyung replied sleepily. Then they headed to the cottage. It wasn't that far, so they reached the cottage in no time. Yoongi guided Taehyung Jimin to their room, and Jungkook and Taehyung were standing outside the door of their room as Jungkook was unlocking it. On the other side, Taehyung was thinking about what happened in the restroom of the pub. He couldn't help but beating heart. It was again beating like it would explode anytime, and he couldn't help the heat that was rising his face. That he didn't notice that Jungkook already opened the door and flicked on the lights of their room, and didn't notice that Jungkook was calling for him for his attention. Taehyung, huh? Are you okay? I was calling you for like 5 minutes already. Wait, and you are blushing. Taehyung blinked and lowered his head. He didn't know Jungkook was observing him. Wait, what are you thinking, huh? Jungkook narrowed his eyes at the letter. Taehyung bit his lower lip in embarrassment. I'm not thinking about anything, Taehyung defended, and pushed Jungkook lightly by his chest and went inside. Jungkook lunged and closed the door and also went inside. Jungkook showered first and went to bed and waiting for Taehyung. After a while, Taehyung came out of the bathroom while wiping his wet hair with one hand and rubbing his right eyes with his right hand sleepily. Taking a shower was refreshing, but he couldn't fight the sleep, and the fact they drank was also the reason for his sleepiness. Stop rubbing your eyes. Come here. Jungkook patted the empty space between him. Taehyung was too sleepy to put the towel on the laundry bag, so he put it on the couch and went to the bed. Under the warm comforter, he put his head on the hand that was separating on the place to his pillow. That was Jungkook's left hand. Jungkook covered his body with the comforter and put his hand on his waist under the comforter, and he snuggled in the warm embrace, closed his eyes with a soft smile on his lips. Before both Taehyung's hands were folded in between them, right before Jungkook's chest, like a baby. It's not first time for them to sleep while cuddling, but it was first time to sleep in each other's embrace after the confession. Jungkook pulled his hand out and caressed Taehyung's hair and put his strands of hair that was falling on his forehead behind his ear and said, "So, what were you thinking by the door?" Taehyung shook his head, still closed his eyes. He was too shy to even open his eyes. His right hand was still on Taehyung's ear, and now he could feel it was heating up. He is blushing again, Jungkook thought, and he rubbed his ear in a soft motion to calm the letter down and said, He waited a bit for Taehyung to open his eyes, so he did, and looked at him in his eyes. Eyes were heavy from sleepiness. Jungkook smiled at him and continued, "We can take it slow. We don't have to rush anything. Let it flow naturally, like one step at a time," Jungkook said. Eyes softened at the person in front of him, while his right hand were caressing the said person's soft cheeks. It was addicting. Taehyung didn't say anything, only looking at him in his eyes, his heart eyes. After a few seconds of soft smiles split on his lips as he nodded and sneaked his hand on Jungkook's waist and snuggled more closer as he pressed his head on Jungkook's chest. Jungkook smiled back, and as Jungkook was about to close his eyes when "I love you too," whispered Taehyung. The whisper was enough for him to hear. He should open his eyes and stared down at the letter. "What did you just say?" Jungkook asked in disbelief. So everyone, there is one more episode of this one shot. I hope you will love it. Till then, take care of yourself. Bye bye.